And
Hmm.
so all of these training tools and resources have specific tactical materials that we use and make available to our distributors through various channels, through an intranet, through in-person field support, and also through what we refer to as business development reps, or onboarding reps who help them in connecting with them regularly and providing them access to that.
This episode is brought to you by Postal.io, a sales and marketing engagement platform that generates leads, increases sales, and improves customer retention. Learn how you can integrate direct mail and gifting into your existing strategy by visiting Postal.io. Hey there, I'm Bernie Borges, Chief Customer Officer at Vengresso, the leader in digital sales transformation. I'm also the host of this show, the Modern Marketing Engine podcast. On this podcast, I showcase B2B marketers in the trenches, showcasing strategies and tactics that are working for them in their modern marketing journey. Be sure to listen to the end of each conversation for my summary and takeaway, as well as the closing message. And now, here's this week's Modern Marketer. Welcome to episode 286. My guest on this episode is Paul Ackah-Sanzah, Vice President of Marketing at Phantom Screens. Paul, welcome to the Modern Marketing Engine podcast.
Thanks for having me on here today, Bernie.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to our conversation. And, my listener never really has all the background on how we set these podcast recordings up. But you and I have been talking about your approach, which is a B2B to C approach at Phantom Screens, and how Phantom sells to consumers through a distributor network. So I'm excited to talk to you about that topic. But Paul, as you know, I always like to begin each episode with a brief introduction. In your case, tell us about your company, Phantom Screens, and your role. And you have a really interesting background with the company. So share that with us.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Bernie. Yes, so I work with Phantom Screens. At Phantom Screens, we manufacture, we market, and we sell retractable screens for doors, for windows, and outdoor spaces like porches, patios, and lanais. Since our product is quite unique, and the category I would say is fairly unknown if to most people in the industry, and I typically have to explain to people what a retractable screen is.
Right.
So when you think of screens that are used for doors, like sliding doors, French doors, or even on screen in porches, a retractable screen offers the same solution. Basically, it offers insect protection. It offers, ventilation without the pests. It offers solar control in some cases. The difference, however, is that retractable screens can be rolled up into a housing or a canister when it's not in use, and so that it's
Mhm.
completely out of sight and it's hidden from view. It allows it to blend in with the decor of the home. It allows it to fit in and integrate well with the architecture. And all of our customers who use it appreciate that specific advantage that retractable screens offer. So that's what we do. Phantom Screens was founded in 1992. Esther DeWold is our CEO. She was one of the founders of the company. She has been with the company for as long as it's been in existence. And I have to say, Esther is one of those people who has led Phantom to be successful, to be where it is today. And we're certainly happy to have her leading our organization and making us where we are today.
I've been
So,
reading a little bit about her and reading some of her content and some of her blog content. And I'm really impressed with her. She is a leader. She is a servant mindset leader. And as you said, she's a co-founder, so she's been with the company really from day one, coming up on 30 years. Now, Paul, you have been with the company for quite a while as well, so let's make sure we cover that. We don't have to get a lot of detail, but tell our listener a little bit about your background at the company.
yes, I have. I've actually been with Phantom Screens for 20 years now. I actually
That's
celebrated
impressive.
my 20th year in the spring, in May of this year. So
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you very much, Bernie. And, I talk to a lot of people and they wonder how I've been able to stay at the same company for so long. And the truth is, I've really appreciated and I've enjoyed my time here at Phantom Screens. It's easy to think that having spent so much time with one company, one will be a little bit narrow focused in their experience and in what they're able to do, or how what they focused on. But the truth is, I've been very fortunate over the years here at Phantom Screens to work in several roles and held different positions across the organization, from customer service to business development, retail and consumer sales. And then more recently, over the last 7 or 8 years, I've been in the marketing department, leading the marketing team. Currently, now I'm in my role as VP of Marketing, where I work with our marketing team to champion our company's brand and marketing strategies.
Well, it's sort of, I think you're a really great example of something that we don't really see all that often in today's day and age. With someone like yourself being with the company for 20 years, you mentioned the journey and the different roles you've played, and kudos to your leadership team to recognize the value of you learning the business over the last 20 years and being able to apply all of that acquired knowledge to the different roles and your current role as VP of marketing. So let's get into as VP of marketing, you've got a B2B to B2B2C model. That's a tongue twister. B2B to C
Yes.
model. In other words, you sell through a distributor network and that distributor network sells to consumers. And I want to be clear for my listener that your retractable screens get installed in homes, not in businesses, correct?
That is correct. There
Yes.
are some cases where our retractable screen products could be used in commercial applications. So, for instance, in restaurants, in hospitality um, areas like in hotels and those types of things.
Okay.
But the primary use of our products is in residential applications.
Residential. Okay. And again, you sell through a distributor network, which means that if I want to buy a Phantom screen, I it's going to be installed by a distributor. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but that's your model, right? Is you go to market in all the markets that you sell in through a distributor network.
That's correct. Yes, we do have a network of about 180 distributors, authorized distributors across North America. Actually, we have distribution outlets in the United Kingdom, in Australia, and in some of the Caribbean islands. So we actually do have quite a far reach with our distribution network.
Okay, fantastic. Now, one of the things that I'm really looking forward to discussing, because in our preparation for this conversation, you said that you've got a model that is a do it for me model. And I'm going to ask you to explain that, but it's kind of the opposite. Before you explain it, is it fair for me to characterize it as it's the opposite as DIY, right? Your model is do it for me.
That is correct. That is exactly where that acronym came from. So we were looking for the counter to the do-it-yourself approach. So in our model, we refer to the idea that our products include the installation. So the homeowners, the customers who want to purchase our products, have the product installed for them as part of the delivery.
Okay. And again, that is done 100% through your distributors.
That's correct. Our distributors sell and install our products. Our distributors work in the various markets that they serve, and included in the sale of the products, they install the products in the customer's home. So it's a holistic experience that the customers have with our distributors. They consult with them to understand what the need is. They are involved in measuring and preparing the openings for the product, and then finally in installing the products, and then if needed, providing the service for them as well.
Okay. So, one thing that I'm enjoying about this conversation, Paul, is that most of the time I'm interviewing marketing leaders like yourself who are B2B and oftentimes they're in some form of technology. But your model really transcends all industries, right? Because there are many businesses that sell through a distributor model. So I want to talk a little bit about before we get to some other related topics about how you support those distributors because again, if they're doing the installation and I'm the consumer and I'm buying a retractable screen for my home, that means I have to have some trust in that distributor that because they're not Phantom Screens, they're a distributor, they're an independent business, meaning they're not
Correct.
employed by Phantom Screens. So I have to have some trust that they know what they're doing, right? So how do you manage that?
That's a great question, Bernie, and I actually appreciate the word you've referred to here, using the word trust, because here's a couple of things. We believe that having this relationship with our distributors and having this do it for me approach is a key competitive advantage within the marketplace, because it ensures that with the help of these individuals, these independent business operators and our partners in the field, we can deliver the full brand experience to our end users. And so our relationship with our distributors is crucial in our ability to execute on our sales and marketing strategies successfully. We actually refer to our distributors as partners, and we view them as more than just a stage in the supply chain. It's important to us that they understand what we're trying to achieve in the marketplace, that they are able to be brand ambassadors for us, because 90% of more of the customer's experience comes from these individuals. And so to do that, we have to put the right services in place. We have to have the right resources and tools in place. And we definitely have to have an alignment in values to make
Hmm.
sure that we're on the same page with them, that they understand what we're trying to achieve, the type of experience we're trying to deliver to the end consumer, and then provide them with the resources and tools to make it easy for them to get the job done.
Now, I would imagine that those resources include training, right?
Correct, absolutely. So um, we actually have quite a list of resources that we provide to our distributor partners. It starts with training. It starts with product training. We provide some sales training as well. There's quite an onboarding process that we take our distributor partners through when they first decide to be Phantom Screens distributors. It includes installation training, support training. We take them through brand and marketing training to understand the vision behind how we go to market, how we choose to go to market, and how we want to present ourselves to the end consumer. And
Hmm.
so all of these training tools and resources have specific tactical materials that we use and make available to our distributors through various channels, through an intranet, through in-person field support, and also through what we refer to as business development reps, or onboarding reps who help them in connecting with them regularly and providing them access to that.
Okay. So let's talk about the fact that you have to do two types of marketing, right? You've got to build
Hmm.
some brand awareness to the consumer. So, again, I'm a homeowner. I need to become aware that Phantom Screens has a product that I might be interested in for my home. So that's consumer centric marketing, but then you also have to do the marketing to the distributor. So why don't you explain how do you balance the two?
Yeah, that's another good question, Bernie. And you're right. We definitely have this dual focused approach here to our marketing. So there is the requirement and there is the responsibility for us to generate awareness of the brand and of our product to the market at large. And we do this by investing in brand awareness initiatives externally to the end consumer. But at the same time, we are marketing to our distributor partners as well. Um, there are a lot of our distributor partners who also offer other products and other brands to their customers as well. So at some level, we want to make sure that they understand why to choose us and why to support the Phantom Screens brand to the customers that they're serving. And we do this by making sure that we can give them confidence in the brand that we and the brand experience that we're delivering to them. It's more than just providing them with the right product, the right quality at the right time and at the right place. Of course, it starts with that, and I want to point out that that is very important, right? In order to
Mhm.
build that trust, we have to make sure that our distributors can count on us to deliver the product to them, the product that they need at the right time and at the right place. But on top of that, we also want to make sure that we make it easy for them then to deliver that brand experience to the customers. Because to put it, very simply, we need to make sure that we're allowing them, we're helping them look good to their
Mhm.
customers and look good in their marketplace. And there's a wide variety of ways in which we do that. We do that by providing them with the marketing tools, the assets. A lot of times also building and continue to build that relationship with them, reassuring them that they are a part of what makes the Phantom brand what it is. And without them, we cannot be successful. So we continually have communication tools, interactions with our distributors to remind them of what it means to be a Phantom distributor, what it means to deliver the Phantom brand experience out there to the marketplace, and then we support them to make it happen.
Okay, terrific. So I know that in preparation for the conversation, you also mentioned that you're producing, and I've seen on your website a lot of different marketing assets that range from videos and case studies and white papers and awards and blog
Mhm.
content and social media, and pre-COVID, a lot of trade shows, and then of course doing SEO and SEM and other digital marketing. So where I want to go next is I want to talk about the impact of the events of 2020 on your strategy and the pivot that you've had to do. But before we go there, I just want to pause briefly for a message from our sponsor for this episode. This episode is brought to you by Postal.io, a sales and marketing engagement platform that generates leads, increases sales, and improves customer retention. Postal allows you to automate and personalize your offline outreach to both existing customers and new prospects at scale. Learn how you can easily integrate direct mail, gifts, charitable donations, and even alcohol into your existing sales, marketing, and retention strategies. Visit postal.io today and request a demo so you can boost your pipeline and close more deals. All right, Paul. So let's get into the 2020 pivot because, like every business, you've had to do some pivoting. So what impact have you seen the events of 2020 have on your marketing strategy and how you've reacted to it?
Yes, it certainly has been an interesting year this year, and there's a couple of things that have had an influence on our product category and on our industry specifically as a result of the pandemic. One of them being the very interesting shift in consumer interest and engagement as a result of people spending more time at home. So, of course, with our DIFM product offering, being that it's a product that is includes installation, our distributor partners and ourselves have had to adjust how we interact with consumers, with homeowners, interacting with them in a way that they feel comfortable. Taking the necessary precautions and using the required safety protocols. In some states or municipalities where service providers are required to operate in certain ways with the right PPEs or face
Hmm.
masks or other things like that. But more importantly, ensuring that homeowners feel comfortable with having one of our authorized representatives in their homes, right? From a marketing perspective, we had to be very agile in our marketing strategy, in our messaging and communications because we wanted to establish trust in our brand. Internally, we implemented regular updates with our network partners, direct from Esther, our CEO, where she connected with them on a weekly basis to let them know how we're doing, what steps we're taking internally in our manufacturing processes to ensure that we're keeping ourselves safe, but also encouraging them to do so as well, and then ensuring and reminding them of the efforts we're taking to deliver the products to them as quickly as we could so that they can then service their customers. Now, externally, it was more about educating our audience through our brand messaging. So, the benefit of providing an outdoor living product is that in most cases, our products could be installed in the home without the homeowner having to physically interact with the installer. So, one of the ways in which we could help this effort was developing and executing a marketing campaign, for instance, on social media that would highlight what could be done, what we were doing to ensure safety, but also educating the potential customers that there were options that were available to them on how
Hmm.
they could have access to our products without having to worry about putting their health or their personal safety at
Hmm.
risk. And so it included animated videos that we shared on our social media channels, and all of these tools and assets were created that we shared with our distributor network as well to help them market in their local areas. You mentioned earlier the whole concept of a B2B2C. So,
Hmm.
for us, for the most part, when we think of a marketing initiative or when we think of a marketing tactic, it's important for us to understand that it's more than just getting the message to the consumer, but we need to consider the buy in from our representatives. We need to consider the impact that that message or that tactic is going to have on our distributor partners. So there is definitely a lot of consideration that has to go into developing and implementing a frictionless initiative that can be effective in the long run to who the end consumer is going to be. It's easy to look at it as a single focus initiative, but in some way it is always dual focused, because even though we are targeting the end consumer, who's the end user, the homeowner who's going to be using our products, it's important that we take into consideration the distributor or the representative who's going to be representing that product and that message in the marketplace as well.
So, Paul, what I'm reading into that, sort of reading between the lines. So, let me just articulate what's going through my head, and that is that as you're developing your consumer centric messaging, you are in close communication with your distributor network to keep them informed and also collect their feedback to ensure that the messaging that you're delivering to the end consumer still aligns well and supports your distributor network. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, that I appreciate you summing it up that way, and that definitely matches and aligns with the point I'm trying to make, Bernie. We recently even launched what we call a network advisory group, and that is an advisory group that's made up of some key members from our distributor network, and we utilize them for a lot of different reasons. And one of the key reasons being using them as a sounding board for these types of initiatives, so
Mm.
that as we work towards developing the types of programs or initiatives that would affect the end consumer, we're using them to ensure that it aligns with their goals as well. And at the end, we also want to ensure that they can continue to have trust in us as their partners in delivering the brand experience.
Okay, excellent. So let's get into a few examples as I'm watching our time together here. Let's get into a few examples of some of the things that you've achieved this year. As you said a few minutes ago, this has been a very interesting year for all of us. Yet, in spite of the circumstances, you've got some good stories to share. So where would you like to begin, Paul?
Yes, I actually do have. And as I mentioned earlier, 2020 has been an interesting year, but it's also given us a great opportunity to take advantage of the challenges that this year has brought to us, to look for and seek out some creative solutions and how we can go to market. One of the examples that I can think of as a success story for this year is the recognition that homeowners shop for our products similarly to how they shop for other retail products, despite the fact that our product is a do it for me product. So
Hmm.
we wanted to take the time to understand and better understand and enable how we could enable that purchase interaction with our products and specifically online. One of the ways we considered this was to set up a pilot program in a number of key markets to test the market's response to a DIFM product being offered through an e-commerce platform. That is something that is typically related to what I would consider the buy, pack, ship, deliver approach. But with a
Hmm.
DIFM category like ours and an offering like ours, you're not necessarily packaging a product and delivering to the home. We want to encourage the homeowner to make the purchase, but then we're delivering a service provider to the home to install the product for them. Some great insights that we got from the test was that, well, was a success. I'd like to start by saying that was a great success in helping us understand the process, and so that we can use our learnings and insights to actually inform a larger scale e-commerce project that we're talking about launching early next year. What we found out was that consumers who visited sites were spending on average about 2 minutes and 5 seconds in the e-commerce experience. And that tells us that there is interest in that concept of purchasing a DIFM product online. And to help keep them engaged, we need to create sufficient initial value. So in the messaging and in the positioning of our information, so that we could drive them further down the e-commerce funnel. And because our purchase process is a lot more involved, we had to work on making that experience smooth and frictionless. And this means setting the expectations right from the beginning, letting them know what it was going to take for them to be involved in this transaction, giving the context, and then delivering the type of premium experience through that experience that matches the attributes of our brand and also the quality of our products. We saw through the test, on average, we're looking at between 1.8 to 2.8% conversion rate from an e-commerce perspective. And
Nice.
that was very significant for us, especially because even considering this as a test, as a pilot test program for a do it for me product, what that tells us is that there's significant potential available. So if we can grow the amount of traffic that we're driving to this platform, And using that sort of a conversion ratio, that can certainly help us deliver some significant revenue opportunities to our distributor partners. So that was
Excellent.
definitely an exciting success story that we experienced this year.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I think you have one more. You talked about when we were planning, when we were back in the digital green room, as I like to call it.
Mhm.
You talked about what you're experiencing with an omni-channel approach. What are you seeing there?
Yes, absolutely. And this has been a big aha moment for me, especially as in the last few years, everybody's been talking about going digital. And one of the things that I've taken away from that, and this is from my own personal experience leading and managing marketing initiatives in these past few years here, is that it is important to look at marketing not necessarily as shifting channels or platforms, but really considering the advantage of taking an omni-channel approach. And you can see that today from a lot of the big name publishers, the publications, and other types of marketing providers. That even when you consider, for example, when you consider TV or other types of traditional channels, they are now incorporating other forms of ways to reach the consumers by integrating other channels like automated email and social and web and those types of categories into their standard offerings as well. So, from our perspective as a marketer, looking for ways to generate awareness and more than just awareness, engagement and reach to and conversion to, through our distributor networks, it's been important for us to look at those channels. So lots of initiatives that we've looked at, including, through the Google Suite, platforms like DV360 and other types of methods like that have helped us to combine different forms of performance metrics from awareness to engagement as well as to consideration and lead generation through these different channels. So it's definitely very important to look at an omni-channel approach as opposed to either shifting or completely pivoting from one vehicle to the other if you want to get success in the market.
I can't help but think, my brain immediately goes to the world that we're in at Vingresso, which is working with salespeople. And we say to the sales industry, to sales professionals, Paul, we say the modern seller thinks like a marketer. And we even teach sellers to take an omni-channel approach.
Mhm.
So everything you're saying here really transcends over into modern selling. So in your case, you're describing it in a go-to-market marketing or digital marketing
Mhm.
strategy. And the same is true when you're selling. You've got to have that omni-channel approach to it. So love it. Okay, so what I want to do now, Paul, as I'm watching our time together, is I want to do a summary of our conversation. And you know how that goes. I'm going to do a
Mhm.
recap, and I'm going to ask you to either comment or add anything you'd like to add to our summary. And then we'll ask you for your digital contact information, and then we'll bring the episode to a wrap.
Okay.
So we began our conversation with your introduction to your company, Phantom Screens. You're a manufacturer of retractable screens, primarily residential. You said porches, patios, lanais, that sort of thing. And that category is not really known to a lot of people. So we'll get into the marketing aspect of that. The company's almost 30 years old, founded by C. Esther DeWolde, who's got a terrific servant's mindset in everything she does as a leader. And you've been with the company for 20 years this year. Congratulations on that. And of course, we talked about the fact that your company, the whole approach to your go-to-market strategy is through a distributor network. You've got 180 plus distributors across North America, UK, Australia, and even the Caribbean. So that is awesome. And so your whole approach is to do it for me, the DIFM approach instead of DIY. And so that means that if I buy your product, it comes with installation. It's sold 100% through distributors, and distributors sell and install. That means that the consumer has to have some level of trust in that distributor,
Mhm.
and that you've really got to not only vet, but train and provide the service and support for distributors so they can deliver on the brand promise.
Mhm.
You said, Paul, something that that really resonates, and that is that you treat your distributors as partners. They're like brand ambassadors for Phantom Screens. They have to be aligned with your values, the company's values.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you have to provide them with all the resources that they need for them to be successful in selling and installing and supporting Phantom Screens. So that means you're providing them with all kinds of product training and sales training and onboarding and installation and support and so on, and really just supporting them again as partners. We talked about your dual approach to marketing to the consumer to build awareness about the category and about your brand. And then, of course, to the distributor so that they understand the quality of your product and you provide all the marketing support that they need in the way of assets and just ongoing relationship building. And again, reinforcing that partner mindset. You talked about the communication that happens to the distributor. You mentioned that quite a bit. Even in preparation for our podcast, you mentioned that quite a bit. So I want to put a little exclamation point on the fact that communication to your distributor network is a big part of your strategy and what you're doing. And then we talked about 2020 and how you shifted a couple things. You noticed a shift in consumer engagement with people spending more time at home. So you really decided to, make sure that distributors can communicate and you can communicate to the homeowner that distributors are authorized. They can come to the consumer's home in a safe way. You're providing regular messaging to your network partners from your CEO to understand, so the distributors understand, how the company is deploying a safe route to delivering and installing your products in the consumer's home. And that means providing things like options for the consumer on installation and animated videos and that sort of thing. And so all the messaging that goes out to the marketplace, you said you're in close contact with the distributors. You even have a network advisory group as a sounding board for all new initiatives. And then you shared a couple of success stories for 2020. You said that with homeowners spending a lot more time at home and shopping online, you did a test pilot of selling your product through an e-commerce DIFM model, and you gain a lot of insights. And the pilot results have been very positive, with an average of between 1.8 and 2.8% conversion rate. That's terrific. With consumers spending an average of 2 minutes on the website, so really now you're focused on adding more value to continue to drive them further down that e-commerce funnel. And then you also mentioned, and this was kind of the closing topic that we discussed, and that is how things are becoming more omnichannel. So, of course, with digital marketing being almost all marketing now, the omnichannel approach, whether it's TV, email, social, mobile, web, text, all those are in play. And so it really spans the entire customer's journey from awareness through consideration, through lead generation, acquisition, et cetera. So you're experimenting and trying new ways of using that omni-channel digital marketing approach. So I'm going to end my summary there, Paul, and ask you, is there anything that you would like to add?
Actually, Bernie, I think you've done a good job of summarizing everything we talked about. I actually really appreciate the way you presented some of that information and everything that we discussed. I just would probably add, and just to tie a bow onto everything that you said, that specifically when we think of that B2B to C approach to going to the market, it's that understanding of how collaboration, how that trust and that partnership with the various stakeholders and the key players in that relationship lead to success. And for us, that's the reason why it's so important that we align ourselves with the right distributor partners, and that we ensure that our distributor partners know that we've got their backs, and that we are willing to and always there to support them and work with them so that we can ultimately achieve success together in the market. So thank you
Fantastic.
for that. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for reinforcing that. Clearly, that is just a huge value, and it's just so clear in your strategy at Phantom Screen. So thank you for reinforcing that. Well, Paul, before we actually say goodbye here to the listener, where can you invite the listener to connect with you online so they can connect and just keep tabs on what you're doing at Phantom Screens for the next 20 years?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Well, your listeners can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have my profile on LinkedIn. They can reach me at Paul Ackah-Sanzah, and that is my LinkedIn profile.
Okay, and it is spelled a little uniquely. So visit our show notes page. You know the drill. My listener, we always link up the LinkedIn profile URL in our show notes page, and that's Paul Ackah-Sanzah, and you'll find that at our show notes page at vengresso.com. Well, Paul, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. I've really enjoyed capturing your story and look forward to hearing more about your next 20 years at Phantom Screens.
Thank you so much, Bernie. Like I said at the beginning, I've had the opportunity to listen to a few of your previous guests on your show, and now I'm honored that I get to be one of them and get to be a part of your show as well.
Likewise. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Hey, don't forget to visit postal.io to learn how you can integrate direct mail and gifting into your existing strategy. Postal.io is a sales and marketing engagement platform that generates leads, increases sales, and improves customer retention. Hey, that's a wrap for this episode of the Modern Marketing Engine podcast. Hey, if you're not subscribed, I invite you to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player so that you don't miss a single episode. And I'd love it if you give the Modern Marketing Engine podcast a rating or review in Apple Podcasts. That really helps others to discover it. You know, we publish a show notes page for each episode with links to the resources that were mentioned during the conversation. Just go to vengresso.com and navigate to the podcast menu. And while you're there, be sure to check out our Modern Selling podcast hosted by Vengresso's CEO, Mario Martinez Jr. Hey, are you following the Modern Marketing Engine podcast on the socials? We're active on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. In fact, we publish each episode on YouTube for those who listen to audio content on YouTube. Hey, one last thing. If you and I are not connected on LinkedIn, I invite you to send me a personal invitation to connect. Now, please be sure to say that you're a listener of the Modern Marketing Engine podcast. If you don't include a personal note, I have no way of knowing that that's how you found me. Hey, until next time, I wish you continued success on your modern marketing journey.